Good evening, fanboys and fangirls alike. After I had said after my Dead Man video, I was going to start doing, the Marvel characters and talk about a few. And I did promise a female character, and it's one that Zipblock Gory likes, and she's one of my personal favorites as well. And even though Marvel's doing a lot more stuff with her, I still kind of feel to a certain extent that she's not being used to her full potential. And of course, I am talking about probably, to me, one of the cooler females in the Marvel Universe aside from She-Hulk, and that is Carol Danvers, also known as Miss Marvel. Now, this picture right here is what she actually looked like when she debuted, and this is actually, I'm getting the Marvel Essential for her, hopefully soon. But Carol Danvers, when she had actually first debuted, when she was basically a former Army test pilot, and she had become abducted by the Kree. And they basically did experiments on her, and when she escaped, she had found that this machine had altered her DNA, like completely broke down her genetic code and then completely from the ground up rewrote it. At least, that's my understanding of her origin. And she escaped, and when she escaped, she realized that she had a numerous amount of powers. And here's the powers that she actually has according to, like, the Wikipedia and all this stuff. She has super strength, and when I say super strength, I mean super strength that she can pick up an ambulance, a minivan, a bus, like a cement mixer. Like, she's literally just got like that retarded kind of super strength. She has the ability to flight, and she can kind of travel at super speed. Matter of fact, they say that she can fly at like Mach 5, which, for those of you who can't do measurement, she can basically break the sound barrier. She can basically travel so fast that she actually breaks the sound barrier as she's flying. She also has the ability, and it's not really talked about much, but energy absorption. Maybe that's something that they just put for like the video games, but supposedly she can actually absorb and then blast enemies back with like their own energy, kind of like Thor does with Mjolnir, something like that. I don't know if that's, they're kind of iffy, and they say, and it's kind of like, sometimes she can, sometimes she can't kind of deal. It really depends on who's writing her. And she also has energy projection, which is kind of cool. She can actually shoot, beams of energy out of her hands. And she also has enhanced durability, which means that she can take a whole lot of punishment. And occasionally she can basically call upon, as a last resort, her binary powers. But I'm going to get into binary in a little bit. This screenshot actually was taken from Ultimate Alliance 2. I don't know if you can see it because it's blurry. And then there's one of her kind of in action. Now, Carol actually, at some point when her powers were getting out of control, that's when she actually became binary. It was right here. And if I remember my mythology correctly, Princess Lalandra had actually asked her to join the Shi'ar Empire, like the Shi'ar Honor Guard. At least I believe so. And here's what really kind of messes me up, because in the 90s, and in the X-Men cartoon and all this stuff, Rogue has demonstrated super strength and the ability to fly. Well, during a tussle, Rogue had actually touched Carol, and she didn't temporarily absorb her powers. She actually latched onto Carol for so long and leeched off of her that pretty much she took a portion of Carol's like super strength and ability to fly. So if the next time you see Rogue fly or like lift up a car or a bus or something, you know, Rogue didn't get that way on her own. She got those from Carol. And then eventually she lost her powers at some point, and this woman, Sharon Ventura, had actually taken over the Miss Marvel mantle. However, Miss Ventura eventually took on way too much, you know, cosmic rays, and she became, you know, She-Thing. So she's like a female version of the Thing. So, yeah. She took over as Miss Marvel, then she became She-Thing. She became a female version of, you know, Ben Grimm. And Carol eventually got her powers back, and they didn't really use her for a bit. And then when, you know, they were doing the New Avengers, when Cap and Iron Man were doing the New Avengers, Carol was on the list of potential candidates. And then after a while, she took over the New Adventures, and she had even taken the pro-registration side in the Civil War, and just all this other stuff. And they still have her as part of the New Avengers. I don't know if she's the leader still. No, I believe, yeah, Luke Cage is the leader of the New Avengers, but Carol is kind of, you know, Carol is still a member of the New Avengers, but she doesn't really show up as often. And Marvel kind of is starting to have her own solo book series do okay. Like they're kind of, you know, like I said, they're doing a lot more with her lately. But what makes Carol awesome is just simply because, I mean, come on, everything that I just labeled, and, you know, everything that you read about her, and if you actually but if you read some of the stuff that Carol does, you know, especially a lot of the stuff when she's in the New Avengers, you're going to be like, you know, why isn't she, you know, why isn't she being pushed to being more popular? So I still kind of consider her lesser known, because even though she is kind of starting to do a lot more in the comics, you know, still I think Marvel could be pushing her a lot more. Because she's a very powerful, very cocky, but very sexy, you know, female superhero. I mean, this is a woman who could stand toe-to-toe with She-Hulk. Or could even, you know, possibly, you know, fight Thor. And at least, you know, be able to hold her own for a little bit. Or even fight the Hulk. They could have, you know, her fight the Hulk and kind of somewhat stand on her own 2 feet. But that's neither here nor there. My next one that I'm going to be doing after this is another female character. And this will be shot kind of within the same time frame, just by the by. So I'm going to be talking about Ronin/Echo. Greetings, true believers, and welcome to another edition of lesser known but awesome heroes. I know, right? Stan Lee looks so goofy. Put a gold chain and a backwards hat on him and he looks gangster. Alright, I'm getting ahead of myself. Anyway, guys, like I said, this is kind of, just to correct myself from the previous videos. Her full name is actually Echo, but a lot of people know her as Ronin from the New Avengers, because that's how she debuted. And her name is Maya Lopez. Yeah, Maya Lopez. And this is pretty much what she looks like. Now, in case you're wondering about the handprint on her face,